So, from possible congestion charges here in a usually rainy Manchester to the LGBT holiday destination as voted for by you. And I will give you one clue. It's not Mykonos. I've come all the way up to Lancaster to visit Jay from Sex Ed Classifieds, who are developing a groundbreaking approach to sexual health for young people. And it's happening here. Let's take a look. Protests have taken place across the UK. Extinction Rebellion being the main orchestrating organisation behind in so far protests in 6 major cities. But do these protests really affect government policy? I spoke to the MP for Lethbridge South earlier this morning. Some of the most recent says it's 100% effective with compliance. What does that mean exactly?
If you're taking it topically, as I mentioned, you need to take it a certain number of hours before you're exposed to the virus, to basically so that you build up the level of resistance that you need to be safe. Or conversely, if you're taking it on the daily schedule, you need to make sure that you take it routinely.
So if it's that effective, which I don't see why it wouldn't be if you're looking at the research, why do you think there's still so much controversy around the use of PrEP?
It comes down to stigma. It's that simple. Sort of groups that are associated strongly with HIV.
Exactly.
And I think maybe the older perhaps attitude to this, the reason why there's such a taboo is that, well, if we don't let people talk about it, then you won't do it. You know, we'll keep it, we'll just shelve it there as a taboo. But I think if you, I don't know, been a teenager, you'll realise anybody who thinks about it for a few seconds realises that's absolutely
my sex ed when I was young was my mum putting a book underneath my pillow that I was too embarrassed to look at. I just remember seeing a panty liner on the inside cover. So it was probably showing me what periods were for girls. So I was just like, oh, I'm not going to read that. But there was no conversation. Yeah, so what you've just had with your young people is a conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the conversations that are happening online around PrEP, around HIV generally, around stigma, sex work. For me, it's all linked.
Yeah.
And the way that you were teaching that workshop to me seemed like you were coming from that place of kind of linking it all together.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I was actually reading a tweet the other day by Jason Domino. For those who don't know, Jason Domino is a sex worker and a porn actor. Do you know Jason?
Yeah, I've met him. Yeah.
Oh, you might do. He's great. He's a great guy. But he was tweeting about the response that very often people get to PrEP, as in, you know, it's encouraging unsafe practices, and what about other STIs? And he very simply said, well, you know, yes, that's a consideration, but actually you're ignoring people's choice. People have a choice to have the sex that they choose, and PrEP is actually a tool to help that choice be safer. Well, that's certainly raised some issues for me, and I've got plenty to ponder on. But I'm just wondering if, as a sex therapist, and a sex coach in addition to into this, if perhaps my leaning towards the negative side of PrEP not necessarily been helpful. So it's certainly opened my eyes on that score. I do think there are issues with PrEP. I do think that we need to be aware of the fact that it doesn't protect you from other STIs. However, we've all got the right to have the sex that we choose, and if PrEP's going to help that be safer, why not? Certainly something to explore, and do join us next week over at Night Talk, and we will take a look at that further, and we'll also be looking at the BDSM community in London.